Okay, so my name is Kevin Kawadi, and for the past 4 years or so, I've been traveling the country cliff jumping. I've jumped over 100 feet. I've got single, double, triple flips under my belt, but I never started this YouTube before because I never really had a story to tell. But last year, that changed, so we're about to dive into all of that. So stay tuned. Okay, so I guess before we get started, I'll give you a little background. So I know everybody remembers COVID, and pretty much when COVID started is when I started cliff jumping. So when everything shut down and pretty much the whole world came to a stop, wasn't really anywhere to go, nothing to do. So me and one of my buddies started just going out into nature, exploring, finding waterfalls, lakes, rivers, quarries, and just started jumping. That pretty much spiraled into increasing the height of our jumps, and then starting to learn flips, and then back flips turned into front flips, turned into gainers, singles turned into doubles, started throwing spins into them, and then combining all different tricks together, getting double flips, triples. And it pretty much started at the beginning of COVID off of one 50-foot straight jump, and after that jump I was hooked. I knew I had found pretty much a new hobby, and that ended up taking over pretty much my entire life. And I really haven't ever looked back on it since. I owe pretty much all the friends I have now, all the people I talk to, are through this. All of the adventures and exploring. I've traveled to almost all 50 states doing this, or just traveling across the country for it, and I've just seen so much, and it's all directly related to this. But yeah, starting 4 years ago, my first year jumping was just pretty much straight jumps, a few front flips, a few back flips, a gainer, and then I ended up jumping 105 feet, same exact cliff that leads us into this story. But from there, from that 106-foot straight jump, got introduced to pretty much the whole cliff jumping community, which is a pretty tight-knit community. And all of those flips I had just started to increase those heights, start drilling them down, start learning new flips. Ended up setting a few goals for myself. I wanted a Sukahara, double gainer, and a trip hope, and a gainer full. Those were my bucket list tricks. And just from the friends I made, them pushing me and moving through all of it, I just ended up progressing, knocked out all my bucket list jumps. I pretty much was content on where I was at, and the only last thing that I felt like I had to do, because I had jumped triple digits, I felt like I wanted to flip it. And at the end of my second year, I hit my first 80-footer, and then hit a few more 80s throughout the past few years. Came up, had the opportunity to jump 90 plus, which I figured would be a good transition to hit some 90 before going right up to triple digits again. So I hit that at a place called Senderland, and Senderland, we were jumping off of a crane, and I'm gonna dive into all this more in depth. But the way I was prepping for it off of the crane and the way that I hit my 90-footer didn't translate too well to a hard cliff. So the set, and when I say set, I mean how I initiated my first flip, I ended up popping too hard. I set more out instead of going up how I should have, and led into me over rotating. But that's what this whole story is going to be about. So I'm pretty much going to walk you through pretty much a little bit of the build up, which was pretty much just that. We're about to dive now into the actual jump, pretty much what went wrong, what happened, how I was able to get out. And then after that, follow into pretty much what the recovery process was like after that. So yeah, it's been an interesting year. So we're gonna dive into all of that now.
Okay, so this was the angle, pretty much exactly where Corey watched, and that she grabbed her clip from. I was up pretty much right in that area, 106 feet, popped, coming out of round in the first flip, and when I spotted the water, I pretty much knew I had popped too hard, and I spotted the water, pretty much extended myself as far as I could to slow my rotation, and then when I got down to about here or so, at around like the 80 feet from here to here, fell about 80 feet when I should have entered the water, but had about another 15-20 to go roughly, and then knew it was gonna go bad. So I pretty much,
what were you thinking like right before you hit?
I was pretty much thinking, like, oh shit, like I knew I was about to go over, but I didn't know how bad it was gonna be. So I pretty much, when I went over, I tucked into a ball, got pretty much as tight and hard as I could, and then hit the water, and then pretty much once I hit the water, I just started to sink, and I felt myself sinking, and then I was waiting to black out because I thought I would have been knocked out immediately, but I wasn't.
You were like trying to swim up though. Like
yeah.
When me and Matt got to him, he was like kicking, trying to get up. But
yeah, so pretty much
went like probably like 4 feet under the water. That was bad.
That's only how far I was?
Probably like 5 feet.
Well, I was 5 feet when you grabbed me, or 5 feet under? Because I know I was
in general, 'cause you didn't really sink much. We got to you pretty quick.
Okay.
You were maybe a little more, I don't know. But either way, it was probably under like 7 feet.
So however deep,
bad.
yeah.
106.
So however deep I actually did go, because I really don't know. All I know from my point of view is that I hit the water, realized I wasn't blacked out, started to kick up to the surface, and then that's when Matt and Gio came in. They were there fucking fast, and I can't say how fucking thankful I am for that, because it would have been a different story. But as I started to swim up, or trying to, they grabbed me and pulled me onto the floaties, and that's where, did I ever black out?
No, you didn't, surprisingly.
Alright, so you heard it there.
I thought like the whole time I was like waiting for it to happen. I don't know how. Like we were sitting on here, I was like, dude, we need to get him out. Like I thought you were gonna black out pretty quick. And then if it happened before we swam out, it would have been bad. So we would have to carry you like all the way out.
Yeah, that probably would have been the ambulance then if I was completely blacked out.
If you blacked out, we would have had to have called. But
yeah, so
nah, dude, we got to you and like blood, like you weren't coughing up blood. It was literally like pouring out of your mouth. It was fucked. Got it like all over me and shit. We got you to the side, and then, dude, you were like bleeding pretty bad, pretty much until like over there, right?
I was bleeding the whole way out. I was covered in blood, and then we'll get into that part of the story in a second. But I want to keep this like chronologically going. So pretty much, I thought I was gonna black out. I didn't, but I have a gap in my memory from pretty much when I hit the water, right about here, and then my memory kicks in when Gio Matt got me over here to where Corey is. So they posted me up on this shelf for
probably like, I don't even know, a few minutes.
Yeah, so a few minutes, and then we swam all the way back out there. So we're gonna head back there and pretty much pick up the story again.
The swim was another mission too. That took a while. That's probably like 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, I got that whole thing. Yeah. Corey had the camera
so it was
running.
Like 15 minutes long.
So we'll I'll put that whole thing in, and I'll just speed it up with a timer so you can see the full duration of what it took them to get me out. That part I know I started reaching back and trying to help them, because I honestly I just felt bad that they had to deal with me for that whole thing. And we'll cut to those actual clips in a second, but we'll pick up with this back on land over there. Alright, so from the bottom angle, we're pretty much water level here, but out there, I can't even see that way. So pretty much that's the 106. And I've got some better pictures I'll throw in, but this doesn't do it justice. But you can just see the distance that they had to swim me out on the floaties. And they pretty much pull me out to here. And then I don't really remember what happened that much, so Gia's gonna take over.
Here for like 10 minutes, bleeding out. We were like making sure you're still like coherent. The whole time you were. Like you knew who you were and where you were at and stuff.
Like, just stings.
We're probably not going to feel anything right now.
Yeah.
Either way.
Would it be better to get out of here now?
I feel like we should get him out.
Yeah.
We can come back.
It's okay.
Don't apologize. That
Yeah,
was,
don't.
We can come back.
Yeah,
We were sitting here because we had all this to go up.
yeah. So
We're trying to figure out how to do it best way.
we're about to dive in.
That's like a super gnarly, like bunch of slates, slippery. He could barely even walk, so it's like it was a mission.
Yeah, I know here, this is when I really started to, I guess, lose, like this is when I was fighting to stay conscious. And that's probably when the worst of it kicked in. But then we had to climb back. I mean, 106 is the cliff, and then it's like almost another 20 something feet on the edge.
Yeah, because we couldn't go out the quicker way. 'Cause it's like
Yeah.
climbing.
So there's a quick way out that way. You get probably about 60 feet up and then walk the slates out, or going all the way up to the 106, then like another 20 feet up, and then from there it's got to be close to what, a quarter-mile hike out?
Dude, if like easily quarter mile, maybe even like half a mile, because the trail goes like all back around.
Yeah, so we're gonna walk through that and then kind of recap some of it along that route, and I'll probably start talking about my recovery process in there and then adding some clips into that. But we're gonna switch over cameras so you guys can get a better angle and see what it's actually like to climb out of this shit. And then just keep in mind that I did this after landing on my back from 106 feet with one lung bleeding out, with air starting to collapse all of my organs, and not to mention my ear was fucking torn off.
Oh yeah.
But we didn't even realize
When
that.
did we even realize that? I was probably like.
I went to check if I was like bleeding from my brain, like out my
he's
ear.
Like, he's like, is my ear bleeding? Like his ear is like barely hanging on.
Yeah, that was
hanging on to like the smallest thread, and the whole back was like open.
Yeah, so I got some pictures of that we'll throw in after, but we're gonna start working our way up now. Okay. So pretty much, how long were we down here for?
It's like 10 minutes.
Alright, so pretty much once my head started to level and I felt like I wasn't gonna pass out because it took us a while to swim out. I pretty much waited to come to, and then we pretty much knew like time was ticking and I had to get to the hospital. But that's pretty much when we started this whole hike out. So sorry, I threw the 360 camera on so you guys can get a better look at what this actually looks like to hike out. And Gio and Matt, the idea was that they were going to help me, but we're going to start walking and talking. But I was at, I think, about 175 pounds, pretty much dead weight, and then just look at all of this shit. They were not getting me out. Not to mention, I'm pretty much recovered, and this is still hard enough. But with one lung and crawling out.
This shit's slippery too.
Yeah. I don't even remember.
I think we went up this way right here. You have the cables and shit.
Yeah, so I might have helped pull myself up on those cables. But yeah, this was no no easy feat. Not to mention, it was like 100 something degrees that day.
Bro, it was like 60.
Huh?
It was like 60.
It was not 60 degrees.
No, it was at least like 100, dude. That shit was
My feet were burning the whole way up. You remember how long it took to do that climb?
Dude, that had to be another like 10, 15 or something.
At a minimum?
Minimum like 15.
Yeah, so that
This
one.
part was like the challenge. Worst part.
Yeah, so what we're getting up to right now to get,
Honestly, that probably took like 15 just for this part.
yeah. So this next bit, this is hard enough alone. And I'm gonna pass the camera off to Gio.
Dude, I forget how we even did this. I think we
All
had,
I
like,
remember is I hung onto this.
Yeah,
so
we
this
kind of pushed you up and then tried to pull you up. He still had to like muscle up almost on that rock right there.
Yeah, so you still gotta pick yourself up with this cable, muscle up, and then get to the top. And I was not having it. So I know that bit was pretty much the exact same. And I mean, this is just the top angle of it. But I know going through that, I wanted to get through this section as fast as I could. So we hopped over there, and then I almost passed out again here.
Yeah, I remember that.
So right at this spot, I sat back down right here, probably for a few minutes. My vision started to go white again. I mean, that was probably the scariest part. Like, I was losing vision, and it was just like white. But, like, I'm even winded right now, and doing this, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be reiterating that a lot. With one lung, every breath was blood. I was swallowing blood back down every time I tried to inhale. It was just bad. But then we're gonna keep moving. We stashed our stuff here for the meantime. We're gonna circle back and pick that up, but I just want to keep walking the trail so you guys can see what this is like. Yeah, so we're just pushing through. And this is the same trail I walked out. But I was crawling at this point here, just because, like, you can see how close to the edge we are. And I was so nervous that I was just gonna, I don't even know, pass out or slip. I was crawling on my hands and knees here to get up. And then same thing here. This part was horrifying because we're just about at the same height as the 100-footer again. And you can see all that stuff going down. But I was crawling all through here, just horrified that I was going to fall again. And there would be no coming back from that. But yeah, I kept going all the way up. And then I think this is where, well, pretty much we had to go up that next. So we're going to switch back cameras. This is the 100-footer though. That's it. But I'm about to switch cameras and then we're going to keep this going. Alright, so picking back up, we pretty much, well, I had to crawl up through here because I mean the trail was so skinny, you couldn't even, well, you guys couldn't grab me. You couldn't help me walk.
Maybe like this last part, that's it.
Yeah, once we broke here, but all through there for that section we just cut from, I was crawling. But then now this is, we are back up on the exact spot. This is it. This is the 100 feet. But wild. So we're about to get into the next section and the last stretch before we were almost, I say almost, home free to where they could help me hike out. I mean, I crawled up this part too.
Kind of had to. We were all kind of like, we were just behind you, kind of like making sure you didn't fall
Back down. Yeah, so you guys will be able to see how you can kind of match old footsteps, but this is all just like silt, and it's all just slippery.
Like, dude, it's kind of hard to climb up right now. It's like falling apart.
Yeah, I mean that's way more than 20 feet. That's probably another 30 at a minimum. Yeah, so coming down from the water, probably close to 130, 140 foot overall climb to get back out, but that is a pretty sick view. I am not gonna lie. We're just gonna grab some B-roll footage right now. Alright, so this is, I don't even remember breaking this part. You remember what happened when we got up here?
We pretty much just walked you out. We were like here, me and Matt, and then we just walked this whole trail.
Yeah, I remember I had, what, one arm on each of you guys?
Yeah. It was probably like this speed. Like, you're probably like...
Yeah, so if we're walking now, I mean, every movement was just painful.
Wait, who was here? Didn't Corey go get the car at some point?
I don't remember what part Corey broke away.
Yeah, I forget, because I remember her moving like trees and stuff, or like moving shit out of the way.
Alright, so that had to have been shit like this. Alright, so last time we hiked this, the plan was not to get completely obliterated, but we came in and the whole buildup was coming here right after Cinderland. So in preparation for this, because I've been jumping for about, I think 4 years at this point. I think we can cut straight back into the trail. Yeah, so we're about to bushwhack for some fun stuff. But we had come here directly after Cinderland. Gio and Corey crashed at my place. That's the trail over there.
Yeah.
There was a down tree, so we're just hopping around. So we came here directly after Cinderland, and in preparation for this, the Cinderland crane last year had a max height at about like 93 to 95 feet. It was pretty much the max. So I rode that crane up to 93 feet in preparation for that 106. And no, I don't even think the idea was to come here.
No, we were like kind of planning it a little bit.
We had like roughly thought about it,
Yeah.
but
It
I don't.
like something that was ahead of it. But
Yeah.
you planted at center.
Yeah, so pretty much, I think this was the timeline we hit, and pretty much how it went down. I wanted to max the crane out. I had been jumping. I had hit a few 80 footers pretty clean last summer before getting to Centerland. Centerland crane maxed out at 93, 95 feet. And so I was like, I've been hitting 80 smooth. Let's go up. So the issue with the Centerland crane is that it takes away your bounce. So because it's a boom crane, being fully extended at about 80 something feet for the lift, and then about another 10 to like 14 feet above the water is where we got the 93 from. But that fully extended boom crane has some sway. So it's not like a cliff where when you push off, you have all your momentum behind your jump. So when you push on that boom crane, because it sways, it moves down a little bit. And so it takes away some of your bounce. It can slow your rotation down because you don't have all of your power and momentum going behind your jump. I mean, that's pretty much the same for you when you hit that, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. So I hit the 93, and when I hit the 93 on the crane, that was pretty much, because it took away your balance and it slowed my rotation down, that set me for probably about 120 feet, because I fully crunched into a ball to get the Barani around in the second part of the dub half. So crunching up and throwing a 120-foot flip at 90 feet, I figured there's no issue bumping up a little more for 106 with a 120 set. So the plan was to come here, do that exact same set, and if everything aligned, it would have ripped. But because I hit that off of a crane, I did the same set here. When I say set, like how I initiated that first flip, did the exact same thing. But because this was a cliff and all of my momentum is behind me coming off of that hard surface, it was not the same. So because I had the hard surface, there was nothing to take away my bounce. That just put me over, and that set off of a crane, which would have been about like 120 feet, pretty much gave me the set for about an 80 footer. And simple math dictates that I'm over rotating on that one. But picking up to where we left off, at this point, we were just shuffling through here. I had one arm over Gia, I had one arm over Matt. I was walking since I couldn't go. I wasn't dead weight like you guys had me up, but
you held yourself up. We were just kind of guiding you.
Yeah, so they were pretty much just helping me stay up as I was walking out. But yeah, it's not like they pretty much just carried me. So this is a solid walk. But I mean, what we had hiked in too with the trampoline.
Yeah, we had the tramp. I totally forgot about that. So
Yeah.
we had to leave it back there, and then me and Corey took him to the hospital, and then Matt and Danny had to come back and get the tramp like later on.
Yeah. So pretty much we kept hiking me out, I was hiking out, they were helping me hike out. And then we're getting towards the end. This is pretty much the spot where Corey dipped, and she jumped forward to go get the car to bring it around. So it was just a little bit less of walking that I had to do. And I mean, we were pretty much in a time constraint.
Yeah.
So I mean, from where we are now hiking out, what's been taking us about, I don't know, minutes, we're probably touching close to 2 hours at this point.
Yeah, I'd say 2 hours.
Roughly. But I mean, this was a slow shuffle. So Corey jumped ahead to go get the car, and Gio, you called the nearest hospital?
Yeah, I think so.
You remember that conversation?
I think the hospital was what, like 40 minutes away?
The first one?
Yeah.
Was that far?
It was like 30, 40 away.
Okay, so we looked at the nearest hospital. I don't remember the time. Gio's saying it was about 30 minutes roughly.
Like 30 away, yeah.
And then I know, all I remember is that Corey couldn't drive as fast as she wanted because every little bump hurt. But just before we get into that bit, this was the next section. That was probably the last hardest part to get down. This is sketchy enough to walk down normally. So I just sat down and slid.
Yeah, we just slid him down and kind of like tried to guide him down.
Yeah, just to make sure I didn't fall over and tumble down the whole thing. But yeah, this is steep enough alone. Jeez. Alright, so right here, we were pretty much home free. Corey grabbed the car from down that way, pulled it up around here. So once we got down that hill, Corey went out, grabbed the car, actually this same car, and Matt and Gio helped me to pretty much just to finish getting to the car. So we had found, Gio had called the nearest hospital, and then he gave a quick rundown of what happened, and they were like, what'd they say? Pretty much, yeah, they could treat me.
Yeah, basically. And then I think they gave us the wrong address because when we pulled up, they were like, oh, this isn't the trauma bay or whatever. So then we had to drive another like 15 minutes to the right one. And then at that point, he was like barely conscious still.
Yeah, so pretty much the seat Gio's sitting in right now is where I was.
I remember there was like, we had like a pan or some shit in the back, and he was like spitting blood into the pan.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I remember that.
Yeah, so at this point I was on the verge of going out, and I was just fighting to stay awake so I could just be conscious when we got to the hospital, just to make it easier for Gio and Corey. Matt and Danny had to go dip and go somewhere else, run back and get Gio's tramp. So as they were on that mission, we finally got to the hospital, which was the second one. After the first one told us that they could treat me, we had to go another 15-20 minutes away to get to the next hospital, where I was posted up for 8 days. And then I'll dive into that in a little bit. But yeah, all I remember is we pulled up, Gio ran in. I mean, you ran in to get the nurse, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, is this the first one or the second one?
I mean, I remember the first one.
The first one I just ran in, and then they said it wasn't it, and then we just ran out and then drove to the other one, which is like, it was like 15 minutes or something.
Yeah, so we pulled up to the next spot, the next hospital. So they had a trauma bay, thankfully.
Dude, and then there was some like little kid in there with his mom. When we walked in, they were like f***ing us around, trying to make us wait. I'm like, dude, he had like a headache or some shit. I'm like, dude, my friend just fell off a fucking 105-foot cliff. But I guess we didn't really tell the story.
Yeah. So we got into the next one, got to the next hospital. All I remember from that one is we pulled up, Gio got out, got the nurse. They came out with a wheelchair. I pretty much fell out of the car, out that door, into the wheelchair. They rolled me into, I guess, like the hospital, and then we're just sitting there. And then, like Gio said, there was that little kid, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, my eyes were like shutting down.
I was fighting to stay awake at this point, and it took, I don't know how long that felt. That felt like a really long time. And then these two nurses just slowly walk around the corner, just a normal stroll. I mean, it's normal for them. And my head was like drooping down, like I was fighting to stay awake, because I knew like if I was unconscious, it was just that much less of a chance. Rolled me into the trauma bay. The last thing I really remember is they like picked me up out of the wheelchair, because I was out of it at this point. They picked me up out of the wheelchair, put me on, I guess, whatever like cot setup that they had, and the last thing I heard was, he has a collapsed lung, his liver and kidneys are filling up with blood, his organ, he has air trapped in his chest, his organs are starting to collapse. I need this many cc's or whatever, this dose of.
Dude, yeah, they had you on.
They had me on.
I think Core got clips of that.
Oh, I don't know. You got
Did they have you on
else?
anything? Didn't they have you on like something else too?
Dude,
Like
they
ketamine and then
all the stuff that they had me on, off the top of my head.
Too?
Yeah.
Damn. Bro, it was
Oh, what else? A whole bunch of painkillers, a whole bunch of muscle relaxers, morphine.
yeah, probably a lot of the muscle relaxers.
Yeah.
'Cause your whole like back was f***ing like flexed and like tensed up. That was crazy.
God.
And the bruising too.
The bruising was immediate. Like you could see where, like that video, I'll throw it up again. But when I was sitting down, we've got the clip of where you can see like the black and blue. I don't know if that was just black and blue from impact or from like this point where my lung exploded, but
All of it, dude.
all of it. I'll throw that footage up again. It was just wild. But yeah, morphine, and then my lung collapsed 2 more times in the hospital, and they ended up bumping me on something stronger than morphine. I have no memory of what that was, but that's a recap. I'll dive into what that hospital setup was like, because I was there for 8 days. So, anything else?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think we covered it all for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alright, so I think Gio's about to break from this video right here. I'm gonna pick up with the rest of it, but I appreciate it.
Sir.
And
Glad you made it out.
yeah, I mean,
That would have killed like literally anybody else probably. Like 99% of people. So
yeah, going back to that spot is not easy. I've been back, that was the 3rd time I've been back in total to film this, but the first time was brutal.
Bruised up your right lung pretty bad, and that's why your lung was collapsed. Okay. So we put the tube in your chest because what happened with the cuts in your lungs is every time you were breathing, it was escaping, the air was escaping out of those cuts and filling up in your chest. So it was basically crushing your lung.
Your lung was all collapsed.
So we put a tube in there to basically suck out all that air to reinflate it.
Okay.
So we can't take out the chest tube until we're sure that those cuts are healed, because the last thing we want is we take it out, air leaks through the cuts, and then your lung collapses. So I think you're going to be stuck with us at least 3 days. Play it by ear, we'll see how you are. And then again, I'm still waiting for the radiologist to let me know if there's anything I missed. Okay?
Are you feeling any better?
No.
Oh, good. You're a fucking tank, dude.
So that pretty much covers the majority of what the hospital visit was like. There wasn't not too much else to tell. I mean, I had a chest tube in, and that was to reinflate my lung. Pretty much right when I got in, they had stitched my ear back together, so that's all good now. Got a nice scar running down the back of it. 8 days in the hospital, and I've broken a lot of bones, I think. I don't know, just a quick rundown. I've broken both my thumbs, both my wrists. I snapped my finger clean in half, broken a bunch of my toes, broke my knee twice, snapped my collarbone in half, had surgery on that, a whole bunch of concussions. I've got tendonitis in both my ankles, bunch of arthritis in all my joints. I've torn a few muscles. I tore my labrum, which is what leaves me in this sling right now. I had surgery as of filming this 2 days ago now. So I've been through the ringer. But that chest tube, I mean, that chest tube just hurt. That was probably one of the most painful things I've dealt with. And when they explained to me, like when I asked them why in the hospital, so you've got nerves running all through your body, and the issue with the chest tube, pretty much the nerves inside your body don't really have any kind of contact with anything outside. So like if you were to pinch yourself or like scratch yourself, like those nerves are sending signals and you're feeling all that. But nerves that have never really been touched before, they register things differently. And so having an open incision all the way into my chest cavity and having that tube ran through the incision and then through my rib cage up into my chest, and then they said they hooked it down. So pretty much, I guess just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So the incision, yeah, is right here. So it's healed pretty nicely. But so the chest tube went in there in between my ribs, hooked up into the top of my chest and then down. So the whole purpose of the chest tube is to suction out all of the blood and the air that was in my chest cavity. And when the air was leaking through the cuts and the holes in my lung, it would get sucked up in and funneled out through the chest tube. That way my lung could reinflate. And that's the whole purpose of it. So pretty much, I guess, just going through, they put the chest tube in when I got there pretty much immediately. And then they gave me the whole rundown of what they had found. I had the chest tube in for, I think, 2 days, and then they moved me out of the ICU. They tried to turn the chest tube off, the suction off, to see if my lung would reinflate, and it ended up collapsing again. So they had to turn it back on. And then I'm pretty sure it collapsed one more time, and then they ended up moving me back to the ICU just so they could keep monitoring it and make sure nothing went wrong. And when they moved me back to the ICU, I ended up getting pneumonia on top of having the collapsed lung, and that was not fun. And then right after I had the pneumonia, so I had the chest tube, I had my ear healing, and then in the hospital I started my first quarter at SCAD. So that's where I'm actually down now, in Atlanta, Georgia, studying visual effects. So I started my summer classes, I started my first quarter of SCAD classes in the ICU, and I was pretty much just waiting for my lung to reinflate. So pretty much in the hospital, once it reinflated enough, they started giving me some breathing exercises to do. They ended up shutting the chest tube off, I think either 6 or 7 days after me getting there. They left the chest tube in for I think the last 24 hours to make sure that my lung didn't collapse again, and it ended up staying up, which was good. So they finally made the call to pull the chest tube out, and that again was excruciating. So I didn't get any numbing agents, nothing like that. They pretty much ripped like 14 inches, and I'll throw up a picture of how much tube was pretty much fed through my ribs into my chest. The doctor pretty much put like one hand like on my shoulder and then grabbed the tube with the other hand and just yanked it out. And I could just feel it scraping in between my rib cage and just feel the whole tube being pulled out. And they didn't even stitch me shut after that, so I had this big open hole into my chest cavity, and they pretty much just slapped. So after 8 days in the hospital, lung was back up, ear was sewn back on, ended up going back home, and the first, I want to say like 2 to 4 weeks, it was almost like a month of just everything was just painful to breathe. I was still coughing up blood. It's been just about a year as of filming this. I think right now it's August 31st, so about 360 days, and I've still have been coughing up blood here and there. It's significantly less, but still, so every breath then was just getting all of the blood that was still in my lung out. It was coughing up that. I mean, my lung had to heal all of those holes that were in it, and it was just a lot of pain, a lot of getting some kind of stamina back together, and then trying to get out of the house, trying to get back into doing certain activities. And I mean, I had zero stamina at all coming out of the hospital. I think the first like 2 weeks I was pretty much bedridden, breathing hurt. Past 2 weeks, coming up to like a month or so, I was able to start walking around a little more. Getting into like October was about a month later, I started trying to go out on like short walks, and it was just slow. I mean, going up and down the stairs to my basement was getting me winded alone, so I was out doing like quarter-mile walks, if that, and then over the next few months just trying to slowly build up. And I've always been really active. I've got 2 state records powerlifting. I was a competitive bodybuilder. I used to compete in running Spartan races. I was an infantry Marine. So I've always been extremely active, and I've always pushed myself to the absolute limits, and pretty much that's what brought me to that 106-foot cliff, just trying to push myself and get as good as I can, because these are just the things that I love doing. And I know pretty much I started walking to get back into some kind of routine, start getting active, build my lung and my stamina back up. And then I needed to start doing more activities. I had to get back in the gym. So I pretty much waited until the incision healed. And it took a while because they didn't stitch and seal the incision up. I had a bunch of soft tissue. So you've got like your skin, and then you have soft tissue inside your body, which like insulates your organs and protects your bones and all that stuff. So because they didn't stitch up the incision, I had the soft tissue start to pool and like stick and press out. I didn't know what it was, so I tried like splitting the incision open and like pushing the soft tissue back in. I ended up just kind of ripping it off. Probably wasn't supposed to do that, but oh well. It ended up healing fine. So once the incision shut, I got back in the gym, and I fell back into a lot of my old bodybuilding routines and my powerlifting regimen, and I just started hitting the weights again. Pretty much when I had this injury, when I hit the 106, I think I was weighing, around 172 to 175 pounds. In those 8 days I was in the hospital, I dropped down to 164. And that was pretty much like my lowest. So pretty much from 164 is where I was sitting at come October, when the incision finally healed and I got back into the gym. Like I said, got back into all of my old lifting habits, and I hit the heaviest I had ever been. I had never broken 180 pounds before. I hit it twice. Once my freshman year of college, and then 2 years after that, I hit 180 again. And then I just went in with a whole different purpose, and I ended up bulking up over the next few months. I hit 190 in, I think, January, and then come end of January, February is when I hit my absolute biggest. I haven't weighed heavier than that in my life. I hit 195, and then I hit my heaviest squat. So I had, once I got back in the gym and I was pushing heavy weights again, bulked up, hit 190, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for some maxes again, because I had a few big milestones that I wanted to hit, just a few bucket list lifts I wanted to hit. I wanted to hit one 500-pound lift, and I had thought it was gonna be a deadlift, and I wanted to hit a 315 bench. So I got my bench up to 300, and the day I was going to hit my 315 bench, I told the person who was spotting me, don't touch the bar until I say. So I go up, I hit like a wall, I was pushing through it, but he grabs the bar, and I was livid. So lift it and count. I wasn't happy. So I ended up just going out to a pec deck machine, hit a set, and then when I went to re-rack the weight, I racked one side, and then I went to rack the left side, and when I went to release and rack the left side, my shoulder just kind of slipped and my labrum tore. So that leaves me to where I'm at right now. I won't dive into that too much, but after my labrum tore, I ended up focusing on legs for a little bit, and I ended up hitting one of those bucket list lifts. So I hit a 500-pound squat. Didn't think that was gonna be my 500-pound lift, but I hit it, and I'm very proud of that because I hit it clean. But that was pretty much my full recovery. By the time I got in the gym, I was doing cardio again. I was out biking more than running. Running has been affecting a whole bunch of other stuff in my body, but I was just staying active. Lung is pretty much good. I mean, now as of August 31st, now it'll be exactly a year from the 106 that this video is going up. But yeah, my stamina is definitely not the same, but it's come a long way from where it was a year ago. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly where I'm gonna be taking this channel now. Like I said, I started this because I've got a story to tell right now, and we're pretty much wrapping that up. But outside of jumping, I've got so many hobbies. I might just start posting everything that I do, kind of when I get an inspiration to post it. Like I said, I'm at SCAD studying visual effects. A few years ago, I started my own company doing airbrush artwork. So I've been doing canvases, customizing motorcycles, painting. I ended up designing a whole bunch of clothes, selling shirts and sweatshirts. I sell all of my paintings as prints. So if you guys are interested in supporting, getting any of those shirts or prints of my artwork, I take commissions also. I don't know, the last few things about me, I've got into customizing motorcycles because I ride. I've got a Harley Night Rod that I fully pretty much remodeled the entire thing, painted, welded all custom parts for it. I've been playing guitar since I was, 10 years old, I think. 3rd grade. No, younger than 10. Like 8 years old or so. Been playing guitar since I was in 3rd grade. Grew up snowboarding, skateboarding. And it's pretty much just been chasing whatever sparks my interest. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it here. So thank you all for tuning in. If you want to see more, pretty much of everything. I've spoken about the cliff jumping, the artwork. I think I'm probably going to post all of it on this channel, and it'll just be one big thing of just posting what I enjoy doing. So if any of that interests you, some of it or all of it, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see anything specific, if you got any questions. And yeah, I guess just like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all, I guess, in the next video.